you respect the rules, sir, we'll get along a lot better. A point of order.
If you're going to start challenging my integrity right out of the gate, Mr. Lawton, we are not going to get along very well.
Okay. Now you have my attention. Allow me to take you back a few days ago when Stephen Guilbeault resigned in protest of Mark Carney signing an MOU with Alberta, as well as other policies that Mark Carney seems to be reversing to favor his friends at Brookfield and, by extension, himself. At the time, I commented that Stephen Guilbeault had a lot of portfolios for the Liberal government, and Mark Carney was going to have to figure out how to spread that out. And he was going to have to pick a lieutenant for Quebec, which is a significant pick. And then he gave them, to the various ministers. And one of the ministers that he picked to have some of this jacket to bring back into cabinet was MP Miller, Mark Miller, who is a strange choice. And at the time, because I wasn't paying attention to the C9 committee, at the time, I thought, what a bizarre choice. What a very, very strange thing to do for Mark Carney. Because Mark Miller, as we can see from this photo here, is a longtime friend of Justin Trudeau. Here you can see him as one of Justin Trudeau's. Now, I'm not a huge, I don't know all the ins and outs of weddings, but I believe they're what's called groomsmen. And I do that only based on the fact that they all have matching ties on. So if these are his groomsmen, and you can see in that image right there, that's Mark Miller, this would have been at least 20 years ago. So knowing that he was at his wedding as a groomsman indicates to me that he knows Justin Trudeau rather well. Meaning that he probably wasn't too happy about how the transition between Trudeau and Carney happened, and how Carney refused to give him another cabinet seat, even though he's been in cabinet for quite a while. And so in my head, I was like, this makes no sense to me why he would pick Mark Miller. And then I got wind of the antics going on in the committee around Bill C9. All right, let's break this down. There's a lot to unpack in about the first 15 minutes of this, what can only be considered a farce. I am going to take you through it as quickly as I can, or be as brief as I can, and still be thorough. This, what you see on the screen, is the opening shot that I want you to look at. You'll see that the tables in front of you, closest to us, are empty. Those chairs are empty. And the three individuals who's back towards you, like we can see two ponytails and one hair down her back, they are the people that were invited to this particular committee meeting. Now, this particular committee meeting is about C9 and how the Bloc Québécois is supporting the Liberal government again, which they've been doing for the entire time of Jagmeet Singh. Everybody seems to forget that, but the Bloc Québécois has always been in support of the Liberal government. Every time nobody's looking, they back up the Liberal government for all the talk they do in the House. Bill C9 is an attempt to ram through an amendment on the religious freedoms in this country, and especially the way that a religious individual can have freedom of speech. Now, I wasn't looking at it because I understand that the second they try to pass this, you will not see such a religious unity among Canadian groups as they take this to court. However, then this came my way, and I thought, what are you guys up to? So this fella up here that you see sitting down in the middle, he's the new chair. Mark Miller was the chair, and that's why Mark Carney gave him the jacket, because Mark Miller had to be pulled out of that spot so they could do what I'm about to try and show you. Now, he's not even settled in his chair. And you can see that the Liberals have two of them have their hands up, meaning, I want to be put on the speakers list. Now, I'll let you hear that. But this is significant. This is important because this is running it through. This is where they're ramming it through. They knew coming in, this was the plan. This was part of the agenda. They didn't care about the rule of law. They have an agenda. They don't care about the rights of Canadians. They only care about their narrow little focus.
Okay. You'll have to bear with me. It's been a few years since I've chaired a committee.
Now, he hasn't even sat down. He hasn't read himself in, nothing. And he's turning to those two and saying, I see that you want to be on the speakers list.
I see we have some hands up over here. So, Mr. Housefather, Ms. Latanzio, I'll put you on the list.
Significant, because now that he's seated in the chair, it's on the record.
Where was that? list you just gave me. Thank you.
This, if you want to just say this.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Well, first of all, let me raise my chair so I don't look like a child sitting in this chair. I do thank you. Look,
Now that's a tell. He's nervous, so he's trying to be funny.
I've had the good fortune of chairing a committee in the past. It's a privilege which I take most seriously.
I'd like to point out that that guy put a plank down for him, poured him a glass of water. He didn't even acknowledge he existed. Just remember that when you hear them talking about how they care about the translators.
I hope that people who I have served with on the committee in this capacity before will tell you that I've gone out of my way to be fair and reasonable, which is my approach to everything, which I will continue to do. And you have my commitment to work with all of you on the same terms, regardless of party. So, and I look forward to continuing the good work on this committee on a cordial basis that we have for some time. So before I get to the speakers list, the meeting agenda provided only for election of the chair. So, Mr.
So he reads off that piece of paper and he says the meeting agenda provided only for this. So he feels like he's done step one on the agenda and therefore it's wide open. This is what he's trying to say. And now he's turning to get Mr. Housefather to say something. And what I want you to pay attention to is how, even though MP Lawton says point of order, MP Housefather, who I'm sure is a very large disappointment to whoever voted for him, continues to talk.
Mr. Housefather, I saw you had your hand
Point
up,
of order.
so I will go to.
Point of order.
Clause by clause consideration of Bill C9.
Point of order.
Thank you, Mr. Housefather. That's.
So there you have it. Now, he didn't, the fact that the both had their hands up, he didn't take the time to acknowledge the other MP. Just Mr. Housefather. Mr. Housefather read into the record the amendment that he wants to introduce. So now this guy's going to try to claim that, procedure dictates that he has a dilatory motion. It's important.
The dilatory motion, as I
Point
recall
of
the
order,
rules.
Chair.
I heard you, Mr. Lawton.
Now, not technically, legally, the point of order should have precedent. You have to stop what you're doing no matter where, no matter when. That's the law. That's the rules. That's taught in basic legislation. They learned that in first year law school stuff. This is a point of the procedure that is out of whack. So they're calling you on that. And as a result, everything has to stop until that is addressed. But they don't want the Conservatives to have the floor, so they have decided to break every rule.
And you will be heard.
A point of order requires immediate consideration.
I'm familiar with that rule, too.
Okay.
We'll get along.
So I have the floor then?
No, you don't.
So now you are aware of it.
You'll have the floor when I give you the floor. We'll get along just fine if we both respect each other's opportunity to speak.
If you respect the rules, sir, we'll get along a lot better. A point of
If
order.
you're going to start challenging my integrity right out of the gate, Mr. Lawton, we are not going to get along very well. As I said at the outset, I intend to be fair. I will always be fair. Comments like that are not going to help. Mr. Housefather has tabled a motion, which is a dilatory motion, which, as I understand the rules, required to be voted on with no debate.
All of a sudden, he's worried about the rules. Secondly, that's not a first-year intern you're talking to over there, buddy. That's a member of parliament who has the same support behind him as you do. I'm not sure why these lefties always think that talking tough is going to somehow scare people. Nobody's afraid of you. Nobody's frightened of you. So you have to realize that by breaking the rules, you're breaking the rules, and by trying to intimidate, and because you don't have the verbal intelligence to debate the subject, you just try to be, if you don't do it. Nobody cares what you think about trying to be aggressive, but nobody. But that's, of course, the thing that tells me he had no option. He had to do this because he's being told by Mark Carney and Mark Carney's inner circle that this has to be put onto the agenda because they're terrified that it won't get through committee before they leave for Christmas. Where when they come back for Christmas, they're pretty sure they're going to be facing an election.
So I'm going to call that motion for.
Chair, you are actually ignoring the rules of this committee right now.
I am not ignoring the rules, Mr. Lawton.
Chair, if you will acknowledge the 44th Parliament Standing Committee on Foreign Affairs and International Development meeting of May 16th, 2022.
Okay, Mr. Lawton. Mr. Lawton, I have called a vote. That is my rule.
So right there, he's being a bully. Now, I don't know if anybody knows this about me. I don't know if I've mentioned it before, but I hate it. I can't stand bullies. Like, I have nowhere in my life to tolerate a bully. So no matter what this guy's position is, he loses me right there. You don't claim to know the rules. You don't claim to want to be fair and then turn around and show that none of what you just described, none of what you've just said about yourself is accurate. We can know that you said it now because you are going to behave this way. There's more to it. Don't worry. This, I just wanted to show you the breakdown because it happened rather quickly. And I wanted everybody to be able to understand the nuances and the movement. What could seem so innocent and so nondescript was actually quite significant. The most significant part of it all was that all the microphones were turned on. So it's going on the record. It's going on the record that this guy is violating precedent, which is a horrible thing to do in Canada, as our entire law system, our entire legal system, the entire legal system of the free world is based on precedent. Now, they rammed this through, and so now we're talking about the dilatory motion, and we have put the witnesses at the table. They broke for about 5-10 minutes.
The committee is meeting to proceed to the clause-by-clause study of Bill C-9, an act to amend the criminal code, hate propaganda, hate crime, and access to religious or cultural places.
Point of order.
Just bear with me. I would like to provide the members of the committee with a few comments on how the committees proceed with the clause-by-clause consideration of a bill. I know most of you are familiar with it, but there are some new members. So
Point of order,
for their benefit,
Mr. Maloney.
I'm taking note. Thank you, Mr. Barber.
That's not how a point of order works, Mr. Maloney.
I'm familiar with how they work, Mr. Barber, and I
Well,
will
then
get,
you-
I will
then
get
you
to
would
in a moment.
grant the floor
As
to
once
my
I
friend,
finish
Mr.
the
Lawton.
opening remarks, I'll get to you.
Now, that's not the opening remarks, right? He's already called a vote for the dilatory motion. And then he paused, and giving people that look and thinking that you're going to give that voice is pretty, I'm going to call it abusive, because you're trying to intimidate. I mean, I get that he's not intimidating, but he's trying. I mean, I suppose it works on some people, but it's not going to work on anybody on the other side of the table.
Our witnesses back, as the case may be, from the Department of Justice. We have
So at this point, he's calling the witnesses back. He's had a vote on the dilatory motion, and at no point has he allowed the Conservatives to answer their point of order. It doesn't matter what the point of order is at this point. The man has violated hundreds of years of precedent.
Chantel Ramcharan. Did I get that correctly? I hope Deputy Director General and General Counsel, Criminal Law Policy Section. Joanna Wells, Senior Counsel, Criminal Law Policy Section. Marianne Breeze, Counsel, Criminal Law Policy Section. So thank you for being here today, and I will thank you in advance for your indulgence in what will likely be a interesting meeting. Okay, so we were into clause by clause now, but as I told Mr. Lawton, I will hear your point of order.
Yes.
So now he had to establish, this is what he's doing, right? He needed to make sure that what Mr. Lawton is about to say couldn't happen, because he knew the rules. They're all lawyers, guys. They all know the rules. But he crammed this through. He run roughshod over the, and if you're out there on the liberal side of the aisle laughing and thinking, ha ha ha, the liberals got away with it, you are a fool to think that they wouldn't do it to you if it suited their purpose, that they wouldn't abandon all that they claim to do if it suited their purpose. If it was you and you were in that position and it suited their purpose, they would do it to you as well. People like this don't control themselves. People like this don't stop themselves. They are clearly breaking all kinds of precedent, and they are doing it so that they can cram through Bill C-9 and stop, which is also very significant, the Conservatives from having the floor, which you'll hear in a second.
And I hope that the clerk can provide you a reference on how to acknowledge points of order, Chair. This was, as you acknowledged in your opening remarks, the resumption of the 13th meeting of this committee. We suspended at our last meeting And that means that there was an item under consideration, which was a programming motion on this committee's work. I realized that we had to elect a new chair, and I congratulate you on winning that race. However, there is precedent if you consult the previous ruling in the Standing Committee on Foreign Affairs and International Development meeting.
So there's two words that you have to hear in there, right? Or one word you didn't hear. Suspended. The other word would have been adjournment. So the last meeting being suspended means legally, technically, in the jargon of the legislature, that they are going to pick up where they left off when we return. Mark Miller, getting assigned to cabinet is the only thing that interfered with them assuming where they were when they come back. That's why, and they knew this. The Liberals know this. That's why I pointed out to all of how that guy wasn't even in his chair. And he's, I see your hands up, because they knew coming in. They sat down and they said, we're going to do this because we are trying to cram. I don't know what exactly they're trying to cram through yet, but I assure you they have my full attention, because something is not right here. And no matter which way you look at it, none of it, absolutely none of it, is anything other than dictatorship.
Of May 16th, 2022, the election of a chair does not constitute a substantive motion, and thus, after the chair is elected, the previous matters of business continue. So we are still, the dilatory motion that Mr. Housefather moved and we voted on was out of order. We are still on the programming motion introduced at the last meeting. There is precedent to this effect, pursuant to the rules of this committee, and under that, I would have the floor as I did when the meeting was resumed.
Thank you, Mr. Lawton. In fact, the ruling is that the debate on your motion was adjourned because of the resignation of the chair and the election of a new chair, which is why I opened the floor for motions. And
that is not what the precedent says.
I'm familiar with precedent, Mr. Lawton. You're free. I'll say this one last time. You are free to challenge my rulings, as is your right, but don't challenge my integrity.
I'm not challenging your integrity. I'm challenging your knowledge of the rules, but I will challenge the chair's ruling.
Okay. Well, you're free to do that.
Okay.
See, when you hear the word honorable, then they start to become little children, right? Oh, don't do that. By challenging his integrity, there is a means of recourse for an MP. He can take him in front of the speaker. He can do a bunch of stuff. When you're doing this, I don't see any integrity. I mean, you might be able to tell yourself you're being integral to the Liberal Party. You're doing whatever Mark Carney tells you to do. But you cannot say that you have integrity as it pertains to the rule of law. You cannot say that you have integrity as it pertains to looking after your constituents or looking after the people in Canada at large. You are clearly violating all kinds of conditions that have been preset and established under various traditions and various pieces of legislation. And yet you want to hide behind this. Oh, how dare you challenge my integrity? And now all of a sudden everybody has to try and back off because you're not allowed to call them any of the words that you can think of that will go along with challenging an individual's integrity. So he went ahead and he challenged the chair, and of course the Bloc, because the Bloc is nothing but an extension of the Liberal Party, supported the Liberal government because the Bloc is trying to support them on this motion that Mr. Housefather is introducing, which is more subtle nuances into the actual bill itself. I just want you to pay attention. Now, where this guy really, the wheels really fall off for this guy is MP Janice comes into the room, because now it's, they're on their phones. They're talking about this. They know this is a violation. Everybody knows it. It's 95% of them are lawyers. So they are like, let's have a look at this guy. And all of a sudden, the bluster from this fella falls way off. And now MP Janice comes in the room and starts to try and talk to this guy. And it's at this point, I'm pretty sure the guy realizes he messed up.
Okay. Ruling upheld. We'll move to clause by clause.
Point of order, Chair.
Mr. Janice.
Thank you, Chair.
See how the look on his face is much more subdued. He's like, oh man, here we go. And of course it's going to be here we go. But I don't know why you felt that the Conservatives wouldn't fight to defend their constituents. I don't understand why you felt that you would be able to get away with this without anybody noticing, especially after you come in there acting like some sort of a bully, really.
Mr. Lawton mentioned a precedent, and I wanted to share that this is a precedent that actually involved me. It involved a chair that resigned as a member of Parliament, and it was in the middle of a meeting when a meeting was suspended. Mr. Spengeman was the chair at the time, and Mr. Assassi was elected to the chair. And my view previously had been that effectively the election of the chair led to the adjournment of the previous
Janis,
item.
I'm going to interrupt you. This is the same point of order.
No, Chair, it is.
No, Mr. Janis, just hear me out. I've ruled on it. An objection was noted. We voted on it, and it was upheld.
Okay.
So we're not going to hear the same point of order again. You're certainly not going to re-argue something that we've already decided.
Chair,
we're going to move to clause by clause.
It's a different point of order. Will you allow me to finish, Chair?
It's not a different point of order because
Chair,
you're arguing the same point Mr. Lawton just
you got
did.
a little bit hot when you thought people were challenging your integrity, and I'm not
hot at all,
challenging
Mr.
your integrity yet. But I would encourage you to be fair to all members.
Yet. Yeah, look at the difference in his face now. Now he's like, wait a second. Is this getting out of control? Is Mark Carney going to throw me under the bus? And I want to tell you, Mr. Maloney, he absolutely is going to throw you under the bus.
And let me finish my point of order.
I'll give you a very short leash, Mr. Janis.
Thank you. I think.
Leash? Did you just tell a member of parliament, an elected member of parliament, that he was on a leash? Oh my, just goes from bad to worse for you, Mr. Maloney.
The ruling was made by Mr. Assassi, who is still a member of parliament, and the ruling specified, and I'm quoting directly from the minutes of the meeting. We certainly wouldn't want a situation where Liberal chairs made contradictory rulings in different meetings based on what they considered their partisan interest. The ruling by Mr. Assassi was, quote, the chair ruled, because I'm reading from the minutes, so it said the chair ruled that the election of a chair does not constitute a new substantive question before the committee, and that therefore the committee remains seized with the motion and amendment previously under debate. This was the ruling of Mr. Assassi in exactly the same situation.
So what he's trying to point out is that when the Liberals had the debate before, they said, no, this means nothing, so the Liberals can still have the floor. And then the next year, this guy comes in and tries to say it's exactly the opposite. So this is where it really looks bad.
So I want to just clarify, maybe the clerk can address the committee on this, about the role of precedent in the committee. Is this precedent relevant? Is it relevant that you have invented an approach that is completely opposite to what a Liberal chair did in exactly the same situation? I wonder if the clerk can address the relevance of precedent as a matter before the committee, which is, I think, a distinct issue.
I've just consulted with the clerk. This is exactly the same point of order.
Would you allow
Mr.
the clerk
Janis.
to address the committee on the relevance of precedent,
Allow me
Chair?
to finish. This is the same point of order. It's already been ruled on.
No, it's not the same point of
It's
order.
already been challenged, and it's already been upheld.
So
My ruling is that this point of order is out of line.
What
because
is
it's
your ruling on the
redundant.
relevance of precedent, Chair? Is precedent does
not
precedent
precedent.
matter?
No,
Because the standing
we're
orders.
moving to clause by clause, Mr. Janis. Thank you.
Can I cite the standing orders, Chair, which very clearly say that in unprovided for cases, it's in the standing orders. Will the clerk be allowed to address the committee?
All right, Mr. Janis.
In unprovided
Mr.
for
Janis,
cases.
Mr. Janis, I have ruled. You're now getting into the realm of debate, which is inappropriate because you've already been ruled inadmissible and out of line.
Point of order,
We're
Chair.
going to move on to Mr. Bobber's first.
Have you been a chair
amendment.
previously? I think you
Pursuant
have.
to Standing Order 75-1, consideration of Clause 1, short title is postponed.
Will you allow the clerk to speak?
The chair calls on new Clause 1.1. Mr. Bobber, I'll give you the floor.
And just like that, he's ignored Mr. MP Janis as well. You know that he has nothing to stand on because he had to switch from we've already talked about this to, oh, you're moving into debate, when all he wanted to do was have access to the precedent. All he wanted to do was have the precedent read into. Now, for those of you that might be, coming from cultures that don't understand what British common law means, British common law is a set of laws that means what if it happens to somebody in this country, it happens to everybody. So if you find that something happened, like a law, if somebody did something and then the judge said, oh, that person is going to get this punishment in Newfoundland, then that cascades across the country, and the same crime committed by an individual in Vancouver or the same situation by an individual in Vancouver, the rules are the same. So that's what's called the precedent. It's already been set. They like to say it's been set. So it happened once, and we're going to go from there. We're going to expound from there. This gentleman, because he has marching orders from the Liberal government, threw away all of the law, threw away all of the hundreds of years of precedent, which we used to get out from under the thumb of an oppressive royalty, threw away all the decorum, alienated the entire conservative side of the bench, exposed his bias, exposed the Liberal government and the Bloc Québécois working together in conjunction. Now, we know, everybody knows that the far left hates religion because they want to be worshipped. They don't want you worshiping anybody else. So I've got the legislation downloaded. I don't see much in there. None of it is worded correctly. It's also vague. It's ridiculous. They talk about symbols and signs like somehow I can't turn left or turn right and find some symbol or sign that's been oppressive. So there's a lot of foolishness. There's something going on here that I haven't seen yet. I haven't been able to put my finger on. But I wanted to lay out for you exactly how this all transpired. And let's remember, we're like 10, maybe 15 minutes into there was a gap when they suspended so that they could, re-strategize or whatever they had to do. But we have not begun really anything beyond the vote by MP Housefather. And so this guy who now sees that he has no impact or anything, you can tell the difference in the look in his face. He's completely deflated. He knows that this is going to come back on him one way or another. And if you are voting for this man and trying to cheer for him, or if you're out there on the far left, I'll say it again, they'll do this to you in a heartbeat. You have to make sure that anybody that looks after you in a way that is equal and square. The second that they try to break the rules is the second that they throw the rule of law out the window means that they'll do it anytime it's just their purpose. And if you happen to be in the way, then that'll be you next. I'm going to look into this more. I'm going to wrap here. I want to thank you all for listening. I'll talk to you next time.